We tell, young urban kids, for instance, that their identities don't matter. We tell them that the way they see the world doesn't matter. The way they construct selves within the world, don't matter. But not only do we negate those identities, we criminalize them. We vilify those identities. So it's more than just ignoring, right? It's more than just discounting. It's this other thing that happens, this transmogrification that happens, right? This vicious, nasty, ugly alchemy that happens. We twist their identities to the most deplorable things. We call them criminal. Not only do we call their identities criminal, we call them deficit. We tell them that they lack, that they can't read. And so we got young black men who read and write in profound ways outside a classroom. When they go into classrooms and we feed them Beowulf, we tell them that they can't read. We call them disengaged readers. Well, how many of you enjoy reading Beowulf when you were in high school? Hell, how many of you enjoy reading Beowulf now? What I see is in disengaged classrooms, because when I follow those same young people with burgeoning identities outside the classroom, they're reading and writing in complicated and beautiful ways, yet in ways that we fail to recognize and value. They're not disengaged. We're disengaged. We force them into disengaging classrooms. We have disengaged teachers, disengaged texts. We got this construct. We call them failing students. They're not failing. We're failing them. So instead of failing students, we have to begin to imagine how we're failing students. Instead of appropriating who they are inside of our classrooms, we impose a set of text on them that we didn't even enjoy reading. Instead of asking them what they enjoy doing, how they enjoy constructing the classroom, who they are in a relationship, to this broader, practice, this participation of learning. The next critical media project is, how do we begin to consume produce the type of media that's gonna, make the world better too. Here, we're not just talking about reading and writing the word in the world. We're talking about just particularly writing, producing, words and worlds, right? What type of world do we want to see? How do we rewrite that oppression? In ways that interrupt these vicious cycles of, oppression that play out daily. Right? These patterns of oppression that play out daily. And that's what that means. And so this critical media literacy means that instead of, hip hop only being about, bitches and hoes, hip hop now can be about, interrupting the discourse of bitches and hoes, right? Hip hop can, instead of being about just gross materialism, it can be about, interrupting the discourses and ideology that forces capitalism down our throat. Instead of hip hop being about violence, it might now be about peace, right? When we produce it in a different way. Instead of hip-hop being about profanity and languages of put down, how can it be about languages of empowerment? But I'm arguing that the same thing that you can learn by learning Shakespeare, you can learn from hip-hop. Well, if that's the case, if you can learn, chiasmus from hip-hop, if you can learn alliteration from hip-hop, assonance, consonants, if you can, learn a deep critical reading by reading hip-hop texts, as deep, if not deeper, than you can by reading Shakespeare. Why is it mandatory that you take Shakespeare and not mandatory that you take hip hop?